Hey guys, I got a quick video for you today on my top 5 favorite crime novels. I've decided to make this video because I feel like crime doesn't get discussed as much as it should on BookTube. It definitely does get discussed, but it definitely feels like one of those lesser loved genres. And I partly wanted to do the video as well because I was recently at home in Canada, and on the way there I read this entire book on the flight home, like 7 hours long, 350 pages, all in one go, Pierre Lamette's Alex. And I just loved it so much, it just blew me away that I thought, okay, I want to talk about it and some other crime novels. So yeah, I'll start with this one. So Pierre Lamette, really interesting writer. This is the second in sort of a trilogy of books featuring the same detective, Camille Verhoeven. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. He's a Parisian detective. He's very short. And that seems to be a thing that follows him around, and people seem to pity him for how short he is. And so he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder, but he's also like, he's a bit of a loose cannon and like rah rah rah. You know, that typical, he's a jaded detective of issues. And yeah, so this is the second one in the series, and it was actually the first one to get published in the English-speaking world. It was translated first, mainly because it won the CWA Dager Award, which is like the biggest sort of crime fiction award out there. And yeah, so basically the story is about this girl who gets kidnapped and all this like brutal stuff that's happening to her being intercut between the detectives looking for her, but then there's just like twist after twist, and it really turns conventions on its head. It gets really meta, and it's just very, very satisfying to read. Super dark, very brutal. It's one of those books that definitely, as I've said before when I first read Irene, the first one in the series, it's sort of crime tipping into horror. But yeah, excellent. Highly recommend. In some ways, I loved Irene, but I feel like Alex is 10 times better than Irene. So on the one hand, if you're only going to read one, you're only going to read one, I'd read Alex. It spoils a little bit of what happens in Irene, but it doesn't give away all the details that I'm sure could still be enjoyable to read Irene. Though if you don't want any spoils, then read Irene, then read Alex. Both are really good. Alex is just particularly that much better. The next book on my list is The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler. And Raymond Chandler is one of my favorite authors. He's the guy who invented the private detective genre and the way that we know it today. There's definitely people he's evolved out of, but when you see the movie Chinatown, or you see that movie that just came out, The Nice Guys, that's all playing on themes and tropes that he sort of laid out in his Philip Marlowe novels. And The Long Goodbye, I think, is the best of the Philip Marlowe novels. I don't know if it's the best place to start. I wonder if The Big Sleep is the best place to start. I'm not sure on that one. But The Long Goodbye is really cool because it sort of takes the detective genre and goes in a really interesting place. Because basically you have this whole sort of 100-page narrative where Philip Marlowe is working on this one case, and then it comes to an end. And then suddenly, Philip Marlowe doesn't know what to do, and you just follow him for like 20 or 30 pages, just living his lonely day-to-day life of a private detective, and you realize that this sort of romanticized profession is really sort of a sad, horrible one. And just all the time that he's passing, drinking, doing nothing. And then slowly a new case emerges that echoes the first case. And it's just so artfully done. And Raymond Chandler is a wonderful writer as well. So if you like just really good language and metaphor and similes and just stuff that, like sentences that just make your jaw drop, this one has those in spades. I definitely check it out, The Long Goodbye. The next one on my list is Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett. People usually put Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler together as sort of the forefathers of the crime genre. Dashiell Hammett came a little bit before Chandler, and Red Harvest is his most action-packed. He did The Maltese Falcon, which was more of a detective story, and as well as The Thin Man, which again, a sort of private eye tale, whereas Red Harvest is almost like, I don't know, like a modern day Western. Like this private eye shows up in a small town that's like totally corrupt, and it's just about how things ignite and a whole gang war starts, and how this one guy is caught in the middle of it, and it's just like firefights and shootouts galore really crazy stuff, really fun. Wouldn't be a list of my favorite crime novels without Wilkie Collins's The Moonstone. And so The Moonstone is definitely one of the very first crime novels ever written, but it sort of has a different place to the other books I just showed, as it sort of is the beginning of the more cozy crime genre, the Agatha Christie, the Sherlock Holmes, the sort of light on gore, but, you know, sort of fun, twee kind of crime fiction. And yeah, and it started the locked room mystery, and it's just absolutely fantastic. If you like Agatha Christie, I'd definitely check out this. It's but what makes it better than the current, more modern versions of cozy crime or locked room mysteries is that because it was serialized during the Victorian times, the book is longer and in some ways more bloated, but can sort of do all sorts of different things. So it feels really experimental and trying out all sorts of ideas. Absolutely wonderful. Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone. Then my final novel, my top 5 crime novels list is Thomas Harris, The Silence of the Lambs. Oh my gosh. I know a lot of people don't pick this book up because the movie is so famous and everyone's seen the movie, but trust me, read this book. It's just as good as the movie, if not better. You know, it's almost as if, you know, I wonder who the screenwriter was on that film, because basically Thomas Harris did it for him. The writing is so cinematic already. You know, it is unbelievable and it's so dark. And not only that, Hannibal Lecter is just such a great anti-hero, the cannibal Hannibal Lecter, in case you know nothing about Silence of the Lambs, who helps the police in this book solve this other serial killer case. And it is just amazing. So yeah, take a look at this one. This one would sort of appeal to fans of Pierre Lamette. Again, this is when crime meets horror and gets really brutal and dark. So yeah. So guys, if you haven't read a lot of crime and looking for something to try, I think I've given you some good choices. Please comment below if you want crime recommendations. Have any crime recommendations for me? Please let me know what your favorite crime books are. If you like this video, please like it. And if you really like this video, please subscribe. Until next time, happy reading. Bye bye bye.